Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today we have another clone of Aventus. We have L'Aventure and L'Aventure Intense from Haramain. And yes, I'll include both in this video because the difference between them is so small that there is no point in making two videos just to milk the views out of them. Now, in this video, as in the one with Club de Nuit Intense Man, I'll compare L'Aventure to Aventus in each stages of the fragrance life. I'll have the notes side by side, talk a bit about performance, compliments, price, season, and then wrap it up with my final thoughts. Haramain L'Aventure is the second most popular Aventus clone, the first one being, of course, Club de Nuit Intense Man. It was released in 2016 and the Intense version in 2019. As mentioned in the beginning, both of them are very similar. The only difference that I detect is that the Intense version is a bit more woody and dense than the original one. It's like they amped up the concentration in the Intense version. Both fragrances were blind buy and both disappointed me at the beginning, but with time they grew on me and I started enjoying them more often than some other clones. Now let's compare the notes of L'Aventure with the notes of Aventus. Here we can see that there are some similar notes, but there is something that gets our attention immediately. L'Aventure does not have any pineapple note, but it uses an LME resin. Despite that, they managed somehow to create the same effect of a cut pineapple in L'Aventure, which is pretty awesome. No birch, but we have some wood notes, no ambergris, no ambroxan, but we have some amber, no apple, no pink pepper, no blackcurrant. A lot of notes are missing, but these notes mean nothing compared to how the fragrance smells in reality, which is the most important part of a fragrance. Now I'll compare the opening, mid and dry down of L'Aventure and L'Aventure Intense with the opening, mid and dry down of Aventus. The opening is 80 to 90% closer to the opening of Aventus. Please note that these are some rough estimation, nothing scientific here. It's just something to picture it better for you. L'Aventure and L'Aventure Intense starts with a blast of fresh, juicy, fruity citruses and a bit of that sweet, sour, green smokiness from the LME resin. The opening is close to the opening of Aventus, is way much better than the opening of Club de Nuit Intense Man, but still not as natural and effervescent as the opening of Aventus. In the air, it can be a bit difficult to distinguish which one is which, but up close on your skin you will detect that LME resin, which is a big difference between Aventus and L'Aventure. If I have to compare it with my two bottles of Aventus, this one is strongly leaning towards the newer fruity batches of Aventus. The difference here between Aventus and L'Aventure is pretty small. Aventus of course feels more natural and effervescent and it has that fizziness pop from the pink pepper and feels smoother overall. But Haramain is not too far. It's a bit rough but not by much. It's more towards that citrusy, woody DNA of Aventus, and it's pretty impressive how close it gets to Aventus even with that pineapple note. And if I have to compare this part with the opening of Club de Nuit Intense Man, feels more rounded and more better blended and cohesive than Club de Nuit Intense Man. Moving to the mid phase, the fragrance changes a bit, but is still around 80 to 90% similar to Aventus. That citrusy, slightly smoky LME note becomes more prominent. It takes the place of the smoky birch note that you have in Aventus, and this is the main difference. I keep repeating myself, but the LME resin note feels like the difference between the Aventus and Haramain. In the air is not that prominent, but up close when you smell it on your I don't know, hand, skin, whatever you spray it, it's more prominent. Now here the OD notes also seem more present. You also get some of that classic white floral notes that you also have in Aventus, but overall it stays fruity, fresh, lively and mass appealing. So at the mid phase, not too many changes. Moving to the dry down, here it keeps the same percentage of similarities, around 90% similar. The woods intensify a bit more. The LME note, that LME resin note, settles down a bit. It blends better with the whole composition, it becomes more cohesive, and also the musk here is starting to show up. You also have a bit of earthiness, which is very common in Aventus inspired fragrances, from the patchouli the fragrance becomes a bit sweeter and dustier, like a fine chainsaw dust. This is something very characteristic to L'Aventure, that dusty, powdery like nuance in the mid dry down phase of the fragrance. So overall it's like 80 to 90% closer to Ventus. The elemi resin note seems the main difference between them. It's closer to the newer batches of Aventus, to those citrusy, woody batches, than to the old smoky batches of Aventus. Now, talking about the compliments, this is a very easy to wear fragrance. It's a strong compliment puller. People seem to like it better than Club de Nuit Intense Man because it's more citrusy, woody. The smokiness is almost non-existent. Performance, well, at first I was a bit disappointed when I received these fragrances. The performance was a bit poor, around 4 to 5 hours. Maybe the intense version was a clean 5 hours with a projection in the first 30 to 45 minutes. But after a few months of wearing, the performance improved. Now L'Aventure lasts around 7 to 8 hours and the intense version maybe 8 to 9 hours, and this is on my skin. On your skin it might be different. Projection is very good in the first hour, maybe an hour and a half with a stretch. After that it sits closer to the skin, but it does not become a skin scent until the very end of the fragrance life. It's not a beast mode fragrance, but it lingers around you for a good 4 to 5 hours, and after that starts to sit closer and closer to the skin. Talking about the price, as well as Club de Nuit Intense Man, this is a pretty cheap $24 to $30, with the intense version being a bit more expensive. Season, this is an easy year-round fragrance like Aventus, but I like to wear it in the summer because it's fresh, fruity, citrusy, and grabs a lot of positive attention. Final thoughts, L'Aventure and L'Aventure Intense are both great choices for fragrances similar to Aventus, and also as a standalone, fresh, woody, citrusy fragrance. The main difference between Aventus and L'Aventure is that elemi resin note, which is not something that deviates a lot from the Aventus DNA, but it makes it a bit more unique and why not interesting, in my opinion. Has a good longevity and performance, of course, after a few months. It's a strong compliment puller, a very good affordable price, and if I have to pick between Club de Nuit Intense Man and L'Aventure, I'll choose L'Aventure because I like the more fruity, fresh batches of Aventus. I'm not saying that Club de Nuit Intense Man is a bad fragrance. It's a very good fragrance, but the opening sometimes is just a headache for me as well. And I like it better in the colder seasons when the opening is more bearable. If I have to choose between L'Aventure and L'Aventure Intense, I'll choose L'Aventure Intense because it's a bit denser than the original one, and this is the first fragrance where the intense version means the same fragrance, just more intense. This is my take on Haramain L'Aventure and L'Aventure Intense, the comparison with Aventus. I hope you like it. If so, hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel because I still have some Aventus alternatives to talk about. And till the next time, take care.